So I created a parallel project for David Hume. So this is an example of how I would begin research if I was doing the Enlightenment project for David Hume, who you'll get to know if you're doing Adam Smith, but he's not one of the candidates for the museum at this point. So here's David Hume. And the big question is, what is the Enlightenment and what was David Hume's contribution to it? And the bigger question, and more specific question, is does David Hume deserve admittance into the International Enlightenment Society? So you can answer yes or no. And you already know quite a few things about this. One is that the Enlightenment started in Europe, and that the Enlightenment took place during the 17th and 18th centuries, and that it influenced political, economic, religious, social, intellectual, and aesthetic thinking around the world for centuries after its leaders died. So you still need to learn some stuff, obviously. So you need to know what his influences were, and you need to know what his or her major accomplishments were, and you need to know what the themes were of the Enlightenment, and if there's any alignment between those themes and your person's contributions, because that's going to determine whether or not this person belongs in the International Enlightenment Society. So where do you begin? And this is really important. You have to start broad coverage, very broad coverage, and then you can move down to the deep. And there's strategies you have to follow in order to make that shift. And so typically we're going to start with something really basic like the textbook, and then we can go to maybe an encyclopedia, really broad encyclopedia like Encyclopedia Britannica. Then you can do some reference work in ABC Clio, and then you'll have an Encyclopedia of World Biography, you'll have the Encyclopedia of Biographies in Science, you'll have a bunch of specialized biographies and encyclopedic works in the Gale Virtual Reference Library. And of course, there is the one you like the best, Wikipedia. Now, if you're going to use Wikipedia, we want to recommend a few things. First, check out the article, take a look at it. But when you do that, you have to check on other things within that article. So one is you have to check view sources. So check the sources, the references, the links, and most importantly, you have to check the revision history. Because if you check the revision history, it will give you an indication as to whether or not it's being hijacked or hacked or messed with, or if it's fairly stable and it's not undergoing a whole bunch of changes. So here, this is actually a really great example I found last year on Napoleon. And the entry on Napoleon, you'll see at the bottom, the underlined entry says, I added information on Napoleon's reaction to his wife's affair, which I found particularly interesting but absent from this article. And if you look up, you'll see that the very next day, a user said, hey, that user has a track record for hoax and disruptive editing, so I'm removing this as dubious. So that's the kind of thing you need to be very attentive to in Wikipedia, and depending on the second or minute or day that you choose to look at an article, the content could be corrupted in some way or false, since it is edited by the wide public. So then comes a really hard part. That's where you do the thinking. It's not necessarily finding sources on Enlightenment figures is not going to be hard. It's actually thinking about them. So there are a few things you should do. One is you really need to be taking notes down while you are looking at these general reference resources. And you should be writing down things with capitalized letters. You should be writing down major ideas. You should be writing down concepts that will lead you to deeper or more sophisticated resources about that person. So this is a kind of thing that you should be doing. I don't care if you do it on your phone or in your notes or however it is that you choose to do it. Those are things that are going to be really helpful for you. So then you should be taking notes. And like I said, whether you do it on your phone or on a notepad or in Google Docs or on a piece of paper, that's fine, but this is kind of what it should look like. And you have a really nice graphic organizer that will help you to do that Ms. Browner provided for you. For me, I'm a very linear person. I really like to have a timeline. I like to know where things are happening in a sequence of events. So for me, looking at all of these people all in a line was really, really super helpful, and looking at it in relation to other events in history really helped me better understand the importance or significance of these folks. We have a really excellent collection, and as old, as frayed, as tattered as those books look, that is actually an excellent aspect of the collection. And it's the kind, and you won't often find me saying, oh, you've got to use the print resources, but these print resources are excellent. In order to use them well, you need to have done the background overall reference research before you can actually delve into these, because honestly, you won't even know what to look up in the index of these books if you don't have a solid body of keywords to search with. So here's a really good example of a David Hume book. There are entire primary sources, and rather than read this entire book, which we know perfectly well you are not going to do, what you want to do instead is look at the introduction to this book, because it will explain its importance. And that's exactly what you need to know. Also, you should download the Destiny Quest app. And in order to do that, you have to follow these instructions. They are available to you on your teacher's Moodle. Invariably, when we give these instructions to download the Destiny Quest app, somebody will text the library and ask, what is the URL you need to put in? Well, there it is, http://destiny.newcanaan.k12.ct.us. It is right there. Sign in with your personal NCPS ID username and password. Do not include the @ncpsk12.org that we use for Google. This is just your school network login, first name dot last name. The other thing you should use once you get to this level of deeper research is Abscond Discovery Service, and this is a one-stop shopping container or portal that will cross-search most of our databases and a huge collection of 120,000 plus ebooks. So it's really comprehensive to the point where it's almost overwhelming. So here's a video of me telling you all about EDS, and I can turn this up. So how we get to it is we click on the database page link, and of course you're going to have to sign in. And here we are. And here we are going to type in, and I'm going to start with Montezuma because we've had lots of students working on the research paper. Now you have some options here. You can look for the author, you can look for the title, or you can look for the keyword. We're going to choose keyword for now. And this brings you to a portal where it has already searched all of the databases in this list. With a couple of exceptions, which I will talk about at the very end of this tutorial. So at this point, you could do a couple of things. But first, I want to show you that we have 81,000 results. So clearly, you need to refine them. And this is where you're going to spend a little bit of time in this section of the portal, of the search. So you can look for expanders. You can take them on. You can take them off. You're looking right now for full text and what we own. You can change the publication date this way. You can also, and this is important because you're going to be asked to look for academic journals specifically, so you could change the search to academic journals only. You could also change it to academic journals and ebooks, which are two things that we've been asked to look for an awful lot lately. You'll notice that some of these sources, I don't know if you can see it here, are not in English, so you could change the language to English. And we've now gone from 81,000 all the way down to 5,000. If we change this to title, so we're searching for that search term in the title, we end up with even less results. If we change it to subject, we have even fewer. So this is a really great way to use this tool, and the databases we are cross-searching is a very, very long list. Remember, it's also searching for our ebooks in our collection. This is going to be really helpful. I think you will find this wonderful. There are several databases that are not included. Here's the list. So there is one thing I want to caution you about. If you are here and you've already done a search, and let's say I change my search here to Philip II, and I do my search, it looks like nothing happened, right? But actually something did happen. It's just that the refreshed searches end up back here in this portal. So now I'm looking for Philip II. I've got 630,000. So it's something to be mindful of. You can change your search here, but you have to go back to the same tab to find your refreshed or your renewed searches. So that is EDS, the EBSCO Discovery Service. There are a couple of things I want to tell you about EasyBib. I think we're all comfortable with signing into EasyBib. I think we've all set up our premium account with the coupon code. If you haven't done so and that causes you confusion, please text the library and I'll send you a quick video. It's less than a minute. Then one thing you should know is you have, out of all the social studies teachers, the most meticulous in terms of grading works cited. There's good news and bad news about that. She will notice the errors you make. On the other hand, she's also allocating 10% of your grade to the works cited. So that moves you from a B to an A if you do a great job on the works cited. Pretty easy to do considering that we use EasyBib. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, please, please, please text the library. We want to know what you don't know. So text us. And